Serl, Reverend Davies, Reverend Val Bennett, you guys have switched.
Okay.
Melody, Reverend Melody Bailey, correct?
Yes. Correct.
Val Benedict. Here we go. Reverend Joy-Ann Fournier. Reverend Connie Phelps. Reverend Dale Jukes. Reverend Pat Zoka. Our esteemed Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon. Reverend Dr. Deborah Gordon. We have Reverend Gwen Smith. And help me. Jeanette Bennett. And Reverend Lana Graham in spirit. Please help me welcome our very own Reverend Joy-Ann Fournier to do the opening treatment and the welcome.
Well, on behalf of myself, our esteemed previous ministers, who I'm so happy I've never met them, so this is my opportunity to meet them, and Dale, also Reverend Dale, who I understand, I wasn't here, but I understand you were of tremendous assistance to this community. And of course, our very own Dr. Ken and his lovely wife, Dr. Deb, and all of our ministers. And on behalf of our center, I am so grateful and so happy to welcome all of you here for this auspicious occasion. Special, and it's not asbestos. It's a special occasion. And I'm going to do an opening treatment. And I wondered, I was looking at Rael because I call him my wingman. And he usually plays. You didn't bring him out today. That means you're going to hum. You're going to hum. Are you going to play with me? Okay, good. All right. So let's just take a moment in consciousness just to acknowledge, just to recognize that there is indeed only one infinite and loving presence, one power. And this power is the power that creates worlds, that creates universe upon universe upon universe upon universe, forever expanding. In fact, the entire universe, the words of our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, says the entire universe is the body of God, the body of the divine. And so I am recognizing that here this evening, especially, in all its magnificence. And I know that I am one with that presence and that power and that life. I am not only one with and as, said Holmes, but I am one of the divine. And as I know that for myself, I know that for every single one here this evening, and everyone within the sound of my voice. And I speak my word, realizing that this evening is really about celebration. It is about expansion. It is about honoring, blessing, and realizing the magnificence, not only of our center, not only of our individual members, not only of our ministers, but of life itself, the spiritual magnificence of this beautiful planet upon which we all live. And so I know that everything this evening unfolds divinely, perfectly, powerfully as we celebrate 10 years. 10 years. We're 10-year-olds celebrating this beautiful, beautiful time. Celebrating these 10 years of being here in Kamloops. And in addition, we honor, we bless, we celebrate our 3 new ministers that are being installed this evening. And so I know it is already a festive occasion, a festive celebration, an unfolding of, an expanding of our individualized spiritual magnificence. And so for that, and for so much more, I am so grateful. I know that as we gather this evening, we send our blessings out to all of our centers, all over the world, to all people, all places, all gatherings. We just express gratitude. Thank you, infinite life, for your life that is my life, that is our life. And I release this treatment into the law of mind, knowing it is already done. And so with that in mind, we anchor this in consciousness, in heart, in soul, in mind. As we say together, and so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Joyanne. Let's keynote speaker is none other than Reverend Davies. He is from Vernon, and he filled in between spiritual directors. It is a great honor to welcome him first to the podium.
Yes, I fell in between. Something like maybe a hiccup or a sneeze. One of those things that happens that we bless, right? Oh, bless you. Do you know why people are blessed when they sneeze? Because in the moment that they sneeze, their heart stops beating. In that moment, there is a sacred pause, and people are blessed when they sneeze because everyone wants them to come back to life. Hopefully I'll come back to life. You know, it was an incredible honor and pleasure to come here and fill in that gap. I so value this teaching, this philosophy, to see a center without a director for a period of time. I know what the lack is. And I knew that I was called to come and teach classes during that time, during that period of time. So I came up here and I offered to speak on Sundays on a regular basis. Every second Sunday I would speak here, and I would teach classes while I was here. And the membership of this center embraced that idea. They knew that it would be a way to provide continuity between the minister who had moved on and the minister who was yet to show up. And it was an incredible opportunity for me to experience the consciousness of this center. And the consciousness of Pat and Ken and Lana, who sat in on that 101 class that I taught. Even though they had taken it before, they sat in on it again. And I warrant that they learned a lot in that class. Even though they had taken it before, not knocking their prior teacher, because she is great, she's absolutely great, but every time we take these classes, we learn at a deeper level. We embody at a deeper level, and we become something greater. We become something far more powerful. And that's really what this philosophy is about elevating each one of us to the magnificence, to the power that is innately ours, that each one of us knows is present. Each one of us knows absolutely that there is something magnificent within us. And each one of us desires so deeply to have the experience of living that of reflecting that and of seeing that in others. And one of the things that I find so magnificent is the greater I discover the magnificence that I am, the more clearly I see it in every person I look at. It doesn't matter where they stand on the podium or on the ground. Every single person is, as Reverend Joyanne said in her treatment, in her expression up here, that each one of us is one of God. One of that prime magnificence. And certain ones of us realize that at a core level and feel called to step into that and embrace it in a bigger way. And I watched that happen with Reverend Ken and Reverend Pat and Reverend Lana. I watched them embrace that truth. Through the classes, their intention was absolutely clear. Their journey was clear. There was no doubt. And so we sat in those classes. We bonded. We learned. We grew together. And then when they were taking their classes down in Kelowna, they stopped in regularly. And we had visits in my bookstore in the center in Vernon. And we had just wonderful connections that were a witness to their blossoming, to their awakening. Now, the wonderful thing about this awakening is it really doesn't start until we become ministers. And we think we go through all these classes and all these journeys, and the most exciting part for me is looking at them in this wonderful place and knowing that they are the babies. They are just beginning and remembering that baby journey that is such a beautiful awakening. I have this wonderful gift right now in my house regularly of a granddaughter who's just a baby. She's only been in this world for a year, and the desire to learn and discover and express is so alive. And I would truly wish, I would truly desire that Ken and Pat and Lana embrace that consciousness of discovery, of openness, of a willingness to be that greatness. Because the universe wants that for each one of us. And they have set themselves up to be impelled in that direction. It is such a pleasure to be here. Such a pleasure to be a part of all of you. Such a pleasure to be first to speak. The hiccup in the process.
Thank you, Reverend Dale. A little slow on the just a hiccup. I have heard you on one of your visits, and one thing that I loved was your sense of humor. There's nothing like a good laugh. Our second speaker is Reverend Pat Serl, and she was our spiritual director for 2 years before we retired. Please welcome Reverend Pat.
As Reverend Dale said, you know, becoming a minister isn't just about taking classes. It's about working on yourself. Yes? And I want to salute all three of our ministers tonight because I know they all raised up to and conquered demons along the way. And as Dale alluded, there will be more demons. So I salute you. I found it really interesting. I seem to be a catalyst right now. Everywhere I've been is taking a big step forward. So the Positive Living Center in Victoria, where I served for 8 years, has just become the Center for Spiritual Living Victoria, and has hired a new minister. And they're growing and celebrating their 25th anniversary in September. They're growing. Then I went to Winnipeg, and they have just hired a new minister, and they are growing. And I now, my license is on the staff at Campbell River, and for a small town, that community has just bought their own building and are growing. Because I live in Nanaimo, I have been invited to speak several times at the Unity Center in Nanaimo, which has just bought their own building, and even without a minister, are growing. And now I'm in Kamloops.
And we're going to buy a building, right?
There you go. So I'm here, whatever that means. I bring with me whatever I have that seems to be spurring people on. I was talking with Reverend Joanne at dinner about why is it that New Thought Centers seem to stay at about the same size all the time? Have you noticed that? And it's because it ain't just the ministers, it's you guys. Why did you come for the first time? Chances are very, very high somebody told you about it and somebody invited you to come. So I invite you to support your center and your ministers by inviting somebody to come. Has this teaching made a difference in your life? Aren't there people out there who deserve that too? That's all I got to say.
Sunday, the room will be packed. We're going to invite 2 or 3. Our third speaker is the Spiritual Center in Kamloops founding minister. She's a world traveler. I'm going to tell you a secret about her. I attended the center many moons ago when you were here, and you taught the class The Secret. Please help me welcome Reverend Connie Phelps. Good evening. What a delight that it is to be here and to be in this room 10 years later. Oh my. So I gotta tell you, it is such a delight and such an honor. But I have to tell some secrets, okay? Because, I mean, they're my babies, right? And you know how that is. So I am so proud of the 3 of you for the work that you've done. And I know Lana's not here, but I'm speaking to her in mind. Because I remember the first time that Pat walked in to the center. Now, I gotta tell you, I love questions. I love a debate, but Pat is the biggest skeptic ever in the entire world. And I told her tonight, if there was ever anybody that I ever thought would be a minister, she wasn't on the list. Okay? So, all I gotta know is that she's going to attract a whole bunch of that into her life, because you get to attract in this teaching who you are. So I'm really, I don't know why I attracted Pat. But she's still here. And that says something for her tenacity, her inquisitiveness, her mind, her openness, her perseverance, and who she is, because I know that she is going to be an incredible minister and is an incredible minister, because her openness and her willingness to be there and to listen and to know, and that's Pat. So I honor the journey that has brought you here to be in this place today, Pat. Thank you for being here. Now, Ken on the other side of the spectrum. So there was Pat over here, and then there was Ken. And I remember when Ken first walked in, I said to myself, that man is going to be a minister. I saw something in Ken that I knew absolutely that he had something to share, that he had some wisdom, he had something within him to give into this world. And so his journey here has been a totally different journey. It's like, how many of you have had children? Are they the same? No! I gotta tell you, I got 4 of them. They're not the same. So they all have a different journey. And it's not to say that one journey's right and one journey's wrong. Their journeys have been different journeys. And so I honor Ken's journey, his intellectual ability to question and to absorb and to know and to impart that knowledge, I know is going to touch people at a very deep level. So Ken, thank you for answering that call that I saw in you however many years ago. So thank you for being here. And Lana, bless her heart, is not here tonight. Now Lana's had a totally different journey. Her journey has been one of searching herself,
searching her heart, searching her soul, searching her mind. Her journey has been one, she is such a loving presence. And that love that she brings here, that she knows and she remembers, I know the rest of us can know that for her tonight. And to hold her in that place of esteem, that place of reverence, that place of love. So I just bring her into this room and know that all is well. And she too is good. So I honor Lana and her journey into being here and showing up. So something Dale said. He said something about, you know, you come to classes, and they started classes with me, and then they did classes with Dale. Well, I'm going to tell a secret of myself. I did signs of mine 4 times. Okay, so some of us, it's not that, like, man, I wouldn't call it a slow learner. It's more that every time I went, I was different. Every time I showed up at class, I showed up as a different person. Every time have you ever had the experience you open the textbook and I swear to God it gets rewritten? Right? It has. So I was that person. So if some of you showed up and did classes 5 or 10 years ago, do it again. You have a new teacher. And I've heard great stories about Joyanne, and I'm just so glad that you're here to lead this center into its next greatest being. So thank you. So if you haven't taken classes with her, show up and do classes. Because even if you did them before, who you are today is not the same person. Because what I absolutely know about this teaching is that when we show up, open to the path, to the growing, to the knowingness, it grows us. We become something different. As many of you know, I'm now teaching in Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm going to tell you, that is the most amazing experience to be there. And I've learned so many things about being there, for the willingness of people to show up in that culture for something different, to show up and allow life to be different. So I know that that's absolutely transferable for all of us when we show up with a new mind, with an innocent, I don't know mind. Even if you've done classes before, you think, oh, I've done this, I know this. You don't. Do it again. Show up again. Bring your friends, grow this center, grow who you are, because I know that this is a dynamic place to be. This is these new ministers that each have their gifts to offer. I know that this place is just ready to be even something more magnificent. So thank you all for being here. I'm so honored to be here and to see all of you. It's great. Thank you.
We have honored the past 10 years with great reverence. The installation of our new reverends will be done with great reverence. And it will be performed by Dr. Reverend Ken Gordon, and the declarations of principles by Dr. Reverend Deborah Gordon. It is a great privilege and honor to have Dr. Gordon. He is the spiritual director in Kelowna, and he is the spiritual leader for centers in the spiritual living worldwide. That's like, wow, I'm just learning about these things. Please help me welcome Dr. Reverend Ken Gordon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Nice hat, Connie. You're welcome. Nice to see you again, too. I'm glad you're back. That's wonderful. This is I was actually here for Connie's installation when this church was founded. Dr. Deb and I came up and we did it, participated in it. So we've known the Kamloops Center for a long time. And we were very blessed to have the 3 ministers that are being installed tonight be students of ours in our ministerial class for the last 3.5, 4 years, I guess. and participate with us. And so I have a little bit of personal connection with each and every one of them. And aside from congratulating each and every one of you on your 10th anniversary, I congratulate you on your manifestation of these three people. I agree with Reverend Connie totally. I know each and every one of them, and when she described them, she was accurate to a T for every person that was there. Yes. Reverend Pat was one who came in and sort of said, I don't know whether or not we're going to make it through here. So we had a few words, and it was like, you might want to dispel some of that. And I never saw anybody work harder on doing that. She stood up and she moved forward, and she opened herself up, and she transformed. Reverend Ken, on the other hand, was very, very analytical, very linear, just like Reverend Connie said. He was right there on the spot. He always knew the right words to say. And I can remember saying, or thinking, I think I said it, perhaps you might choose to break open a little bit and feel some of the words you're speaking instead of just speaking them. Perhaps what you'd like to do is actually embody some of this teaching and bring it in instead of just intellectually knowing it and how it works. And so I saw him too move forward in that area. I saw him become fragile and become transparent and become open and receptive. So that was an interesting transformation. And Reverend Lana came in, and Reverend Lana was one who came in and wasn't really sure whether or not she was ever going to enter into ministry because she really wasn't feeling complete or whole. And I can remember Dr. Deborah and I and Reverend Diane and Dr. Casey working and constantly helping guide her to recognize and know that the truth of who she was the divine being itself. And that the acceptance of that was all and everything that was there. And so here we are 4 years later, literally. And we come here for the installation of each and every one of them. And the first thing that I have to say privately to them is, I'm proud of you. You've done well. You've worked hard. You've taken all of the lessons, no matter how hard they were, and you took them and embodied them and put them into your own being and your own self. And you transformed. And life is sweeter because of it. Not just for you as individuals, but for the world itself. Because if there's one thing that religious science teaches, if there's one thing that the science of mind teaches, it is to be authentic. It is to recognize and know that each and every one of us is that divine being and that divine sense, and that within us is that truth. And the only thing that prevents us from feeling, accepting, or being able to experience it is our own sense of lack. Our own sense of not being enough. And so what this teaching is about is it's a teaching about stepping forward and stepping into the truth of who you are rather than the truth of who you think you are. Rather than living from the effect of what your belief states, you begin to live from the resonant truth that brought you here in the first place, that brought you to this teaching and really accentuates who you are. And tonight we have a very, very special thing to do, and it's very, very sacred. And, I will tell you is that it is a bloop in consciousness for the ministers that are being installed. Something occurs at this time, this self-recognition, this self-acceptance. Something occurs that transforms your life. And after tonight, you will never be the same. And you might be sitting there right now thinking, no, that's not so. But I will tell you something. A year from now, you will tell me that it is exactly accurate. Something happens within you through these processes and through this happening. Each and every one of you has been called to a teaching. But more importantly, what you're doing is you're making a commitment to humanity right now. And that commitment that you're making to humanity is a gift. And it is a divine gift. It is a gift of service. So I ask you, the members of this organization, the members of this center, when was the last time someone dedicated their life to you? And actually stepped forward and said, from this point forward, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself totally to you. I'm going to do everything in my power to be able to awaken, guide, and direct you to the greatness that you are. Because that's what an installation is. An installation is the appearance and the coming of that calling, and having someone commit, not just orally, and not just intellectually, and not with any sense of arrogance or stop or block. What they're doing is they're committing themselves to give themselves to you for the rest of their lives. So as members of this center, I want you to appreciate, and I want you to know that. And I want you to know that these three people that we're installing tonight are people who will continue to grow and transform as they have over the last 4 years, as they have over the last 40 years. To be able to apply and to be able to put themselves into the position in order to become authentic so that they might share themselves with you in their totality and their completeness. Don't misunderstand. This doesn't mean that they're going to agree with you. It doesn't mean they're going to baby you. It doesn't mean that they're going to coddle you. What it means is they're going to see within you the divine spark that they're beginning to recognize within their own selves. When Reverend Dale said this growing starts now, really what happens for this center and what happens for these ministers starts today in this moment, right here and right now. Because the commitment they're making today is deeper than any commitment they've ever made before, and it's deeper than any commitment they'll ever make again. So moving with that, recognizing the sacredness of this moment, I would like to now move into the celebration and the ritual itself. So members of the congregation of the Center for Spiritual Living Kamloops, it's our joyous privilege to officially install as ministers tonight of this center the Reverends Ken Serl, Pat Davies, and Lana Graham. Being duly qualified for such responsibility by having been installed and passing all of the courses required and necessary as ministers of religious science, each has proven their understanding of religious science and science of mind, and their high spiritual consciousness and consistent use of principle has made them an invaluable asset to this center and to the Centers for Spiritual Living and to the world itself. Their caring and dedication has endeared each of them to the hearts of many, myself included. The ministry is a profession. It's a profession in the highest sense, but it is also a business requiring management skills, leadership ability, and financial understanding. Yet it's something still more than that. It is a calling. It is an inner prompting to serve God, self, and to serve humankind. It's a challenge, and it's a challenge to live by the spiritual principles that they teach, and in turn, they purportedly have embodied. But my discovery is that the embodiment goes back and forth. But the truth is that when they do their spiritual practice, what they will always do is awaken to the principles that led them forward and brought them to this moment right here and right now. It is a dedication and a consecration to the truth of these principles, and it is a commitment to so share these principles with others that their lives, your lives, may be transformed. Our program in Centers for Spiritual Living, our program of teaching, and our ministry of healing are based upon the Declaration of Principles written by our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes. And so what I would like to do now is invite up Reverend Dr. Deborah Gordon, who will read these declarations of principles.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Ken. And I just want to take a second. You're supposed to just move right into these, and it's very smooth. But I just want to acknowledge the three of you and to just tell you how proud I am and how it's hard to be the mother. I'm not sure if I'm the mother or the grandmother, but whatever it is. You guys came to us in your second year of practitioner training. And I just want to echo Ken and Connie really, and just really remark and note the growth and your commitment and your your integrity to yourself and to the teaching. So I'm blessed. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be parts of your life. So the Declaration of Principles. These are words that were written by Ernest Holmes back in the, 1927, give or take. And these are words that have been read consistently at every ceremony since then. So they are the one constant, and I love that idea. So it is an honor to share them with you tonight. So we believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. The manifest universe is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. We believe in the incarnation of the Spirit in everyone, and that all people are incarnations of the one Spirit. We believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever and ever expanding. We believe that the kingdom of heaven is within us, and that we experience this kingdom to the degree that we become conscious of it. We believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. We believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. We believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. We believe in the direct revelation of truth through the intuitive and spiritual nature of any kind, and that any person may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. We believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God. We are surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct impress of our thoughts and acts upon it. We believe in the healing of conditions through the power of this mind. We believe in the control of conditions through the power of this mind. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. We believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny. We understand that the life of humankind is God.
Thank you, Dr. Deborah. Yes, I do call her Dr. Deborah. So I now bring forward the Vice President of the Board of Trustees, and I ask Riel Bosse to please step forward. Well, yeah, don't hurry on my count.
I will take you seriously.
Riel Bosse, do you, as an authorized representative of the Board of Trustees of this center, reaffirm that it is the will and desire of this church that these stellar ministers, Reverend Pat Davies, Reverend Ken Serl, and Reverend Lana Graham, be installed as ministers of this center?
I absolutely do. You want me to read that?
Yeah.
No, you won't. As representative and member of the Board of Trustees for the Center of Spiritual Living Kamloops, it is my pleasure to state that both the Board of Trustees and the Center body request Ken Serl, Lana Graham, and Pat Davies be installed as ministers.
Now we'll break for a song. I should have done it before, but that's okay, we'll do it now.
And the music is in the words are in the program.
Words are in the program.
That's
does everybody have the words open? We want everybody to sing.